Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Otaku Sentai Podranger. This is your host B-Shuck.
And Ben.
And Jose, also known as Dio, glad to be here.
And Lane, Walrus Balls.
And Sophie.
We're gonna go for a more open discussion type format, less like summary, just because I want to give all my co-hosts more room to sort of talk about how they feel about the episodes, but I'm excited to get into it. So we got the first one we'll be covering, episode 6, The Final Battle, The Great Adventure of Tokonatsu Castle. We got our Universe Warrior, Atami Tokonatsu, who's taken up the role of Don Momotaro. He's suddenly working with the villains, the Baraidon, to challenge the Gozyugers to go through his castle, which he just summons this castle full of wacky challenges for the team to go through. And
Rangers to Takeshi Castle is a pretty interesting concept I really was not expecting, especially from Tokonatsu.
Oh yeah, it's not only is the betrayal just I guess should be a little expected since he's already established he has a nasty dark side to him, but still just like very sudden.
What, the politician? No.
Yeah. But yeah, most of the episode is just the Gozyugers going through these various trials inside this castle. Like we got let's see.
They played tag for the first one, didn't they?
Yeah,
it was like tag.
I believe so,
tag,
yeah.
dodgeball, and then
House.
They played house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
House, not MD. But
Yeah, it's
the start of the episode, I think was one of my favorite episode starts so far, because it was just Tono standing up on top of the Tegasword, watering his plants, humming a tune about how he doesn't have to pay rent. And then here comes Ryugi calling him a heretic and threatening to throw vehicles at him.
Oh yeah, that part was great. Just another example of Horu just using the Tega sword like it's his car, basically, just doing whatever with it.
Also, we keep seeing Ryugi's strength being played out, where it's like I am hoping that he kind of utilizes his strength more in fights going forward. Because dude, this man can pick up a car just like it's a rock.
Yeah, and the other teammates are definitely starting to get a little more wary about his strength, knowing that he could easily pose a threat to them if they get on his bad side. That was pretty funny to see.
Yeah, I felt like this was the first episode where, I mean, obviously, because that's kind of the point we reached in the story, but this is the first episode where we kind of got more into, the group dynamics. I'm not going to call it a team dynamic yet, because it's not quite there at this moment, but I really like all that interplay amongst them.
Oh yeah, just the clashing personalities of them just trying to figure out how to work together, and just it's very entertaining to see.
They're
an Inoue show with a lot of interpersonal conflicts. I'm shocked.
Yeah, very shocking.
They seem to be working together relatively nicely, and then but then they still seem to be keeping each other at an arm's length, because they are still rivals, but I feel like they're just trying to be friends at this point, but the game's not letting them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was kind of interesting to see everybody's role whenever they were playing house. Tono being their delinquent kid, and then Ryugi was the mom figure, right?
Yeah.
I think I can't remember who everybody else was, but on the top of my head, but it was kind of interesting to see because he's usually the one behind the counter at the at home base, serving tea to everybody. So it's I wonder if these kind of this familial like the familial roles that they were put into kind of not exactly foreshadowing like their future roles, but like I guess what I
It's-
would think, yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
kind of like just commenting on who they are to each other.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's almost like this like meta compliment of like what
Mhm.
kind of like some features that they represent with each other.
Yeah, I think that it kind of led to some of the most interesting characterization for each of them as individuals because you were kind of like presented you had these characters presented to you in a way that kind of just explicitly states what their role amongst each other is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I sorry, I wanted to bring this up because I actually did. I actually pulled up like what role each of them were given. Okay, so, uh, Riko and Ryugi were the dad and mom respectively. Kinjiro is the grandfather, and both Horu and Sumino were the siblings. So just thought I'd
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and
That
that's like
tracks.
yeah, it's like Kinjiro being like the grandpa also fits for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he literally is one.
It almost felt like maybe even meant to be like a jab, like no matter what, he can't escape the age he actually is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One part of the episode that I really enjoyed is how it like really got into Atami's like it actually like fleshed him out. It showed that like, even with all his shortcomings, he actually, has a past that sort of, shaped how he tackles things, and it puts a lot of things into perspective how it's actually I really like how it has parallels with Taro Momoi from Don Brothers, the real Don Momotaro. He also struggled to connect with people growing up and kind of had to figure out how to do so. Of course, Atami went about it in a completely different way where he learned to sort of like manipulate people with charisma, which is the opposite of what Taro did, of, being blunt and honest with everyone. So it's interesting how they made like a similar yet different character. And
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like he's meant to be like the mirror image of Taro.
it
Yeah, like a
it
different
almost like
angle,
feels
kind of.
like it almost feels like how Kamen Rider Decade handled its like legacy heroes. Like instead of having like the same past characters, they have like new ones that are sort of remixed with like different qualities to them. Which I haven't seen Decade yet, but from what I've heard, that's pretty much how they handle that. Um,
Yeah, it is. I honestly think that's my preferred way of doing an anniversary show because since it's not like the exact same characters, it doesn't totally alienate anybody who hasn't watched all the prior ones.
oh yeah, I
Yeah, because it's a
yeah, I
lot of
definitely
content
agree
to
there.
catch up on.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus it's like for people who have seen the past shows, it's a lot more satisfying to try to see the connections and appreciate like where they pay homage. So it's like a win-win situation there for both newbies and veterans.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
it's
think
a pretty oh sorry.
yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a pretty like clever way of like, having their cake and eating it too, sort of thing. Like nobody really loses.
Definitely.
Yeah, I really enjoy how this series is kind of going for the nostalgia, I guess. And like we'll kind of get to more of the presentation of it later.
Oh,
But
definitely.
I do appreciate how one of the main team members has the Boombunger little key
Hmm.
uh
Mhm.
because like that's the one I started off with. That's my first Sentai series. Um so it's like having that be like still fresh on the mind while also like exploring all these other different Sentais just in like a different light kind of makes it to where it's in some aspects whenever they bring like the other Red Rangers out and like summoning them, uh it's just cool to kind of see like their powers and then like the new powers that they would exhibit that they wouldn't really be showing in like the original shows that they're from.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And since it's in
Oh yeah.
such an interesting order that like you'd have rangers from all over the place probably going to show up at one point. I think the beauty of something like this and Decade is that like the audience will be able to pick and choose kind of like their reps, you know. Like
Yeah.
say if like I don't know many like Sentai series off the top of my head, but I mean heck, I'd be even like, oh hey, Boom Boonger's back, like straight up it's actually him, you know, or instead of like just like the key uh being used by Rikuo.
Right.
Yeah, it's cool to kind of see how they're doing it, and like you could tell they're big fans of this of the entire brand, you know.
Well, you know, it
Like
helps that like so many of the higher ups in production have been working on uh, the property for at least a couple of decades now.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Sentai is like really just the tradition of making it each year and building upon the expertise among like the same set of like crew that they cycle in and out. Like it's really um yeah, they just have a really strong like in-house like repertoire for like this entire franchise, and it's culminating in a really cool way in this show. So like as Atami explains his backstory to Horu, it allows him to sort of open up about his own backstory, and we see like how him and his family somehow got lost in the no one world and got hunted by like various monsters from that world, and then somehow ended up in on Earth basically, but they ended up all getting stranded and distant from each other, and so it really shows like it really shows like where Horu's sense of like loneliness and needing to be his own man comes from, because he got basically got alienated from his own family uh, at some point. Like they just moved on, like they didn't need him anymore, and it really wounded him. And yeah, I'm really loving this sort of like I don't know, it's weird to say that I'm enjoying seeing this character suffer so much, but it definitely helps like flesh out his whole arc, and it's gonna make it satisfying to see how his character progression goes, like in spite of all of that.
Oh yeah.
Saying I really like the dynamic going on where like because yeah, this I'd say that I think we can agree like this the way this episode started, it's definitely on the sillier side even by Gozyuger standards, and I love how it just opens this way, and then halfway in it's like, oh yeah, now it's time for the feels.
Said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it a dozen more times, but the best Koku protagonists tend to be the ones that suffer the most.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
It builds character.
Absolutely. The more
Yeah.
miserable a hero, the better.
It's true. I want that light in your eyes gone.
Yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make it, I really, it's honestly impressive how they managed to like balance these two parts of the story and somehow still staying consistently. That's like one of the things that's like made me like really enjoy it so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also loving how like it shows that these universe warriors, as like rival characters, they aren't like totally villains. Like they can be like really they can be like even more morally complex than our heroes, and it's interesting to see them go from enemies to allies, like Atami does this
Oh
episode,
yeah,
where he and Horu have their cool little team up against Fire Candle. um yeah, that whole fight sequence at the end is great, and especially when it has the finisher, and it's like modeled exactly like Gon Momotaro's finisher from his show, and stuff like that's always great to see in these anniversary seasons.
Yeah, and it's stuff like that where it's like even if someone's like diehard uh Don Momotaro fan, they could still be like, yeah, that was still a good win, you know. Uh Man, yeah, it's just the way that they're really handling like that all the source material. Just so good. Just like uh, let's see. Oh yeah, back to our protagonist being like going through a lot of suffering. I remember last season in Boom Boomger, like Taya didn't really get a lot going for him except for like uh his assets got liquidated. That's about it.
Oh my god.
And that kind of sucked for him, but like I mean, you look over here at Horu, like his own mom was like, "Hey, you're done dreaming, kid. It's over for you." And yeah, it's like that crawling from the ground up, just really, really so good. And especially like during this little encounter they have, where like because like I was thinking that uh Tokonatsu is going to be like a bit more of a presence as like a rival for him, but they cleared him out pretty quick, and I think that was probably to the betterment of Horu's character, because we're gonna see these guys develop quick, and there's gonna be they're gonna be so in depth by the end of the show. Oh man, so much is gonna happen. So much has already happened, and like with this, it's like, oh man, you really get to see just like it's mask off with all these characters, and it just feels so much more personal than like Boom Boomger did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, of course the episode ends with Horu and Atami having one final clash, which Horu wins, obviously, because he's the protagonist. But the two, decide to be friends just because Atami always wanted a friend, and Horu basically grants that wish for him. So there's a happy ending to it. But yeah, it's definitely another example of how much of a battle royale this season's gonna be. Just like people falling left and right. But yeah, and of course, the episode ends with this very iconic cliffhanger.
Oh yeah.
Where like while the battle between Shining Knife and Sweet Cake and Tegasword Black is happening, all of a sudden we see a cloaked Daijujin, which some may recognize as the original Megazord from Mighty Morphin Power
Yeah.
Rangers.
Yeah,
Which,
dude.
Yeah.
Such a great
And,
shot.
Oh yeah, I really loved seeing that. Like I got spoiled for it on Blue Sky before
that's
I saw
Oh,
the
man.
episode,
Oh,
but it was still worth it to like look forward to it just to see like what Ben's reaction would be. Just because I know that he grew up on Mighty Morphin, and it would be
Oh, yeah.
very evocative for him to see that iconography. But yeah, that leads into oh, you go
you're
ahead.
good. So while Boom Boomger was my first Sentai series, Ranger has been a thing, or Power Rangers has been a thing that's been prevalent in my life. See, my brother is a huge Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan, and particularly likes the Green Ranger, and almost changed his name to Tommy back in the day
Oh wow.
when it was popular. Oh man, yeah, dude. I have like the entire series of Mighty Morphin, and I have the Space Rangers one that came after it. But that's all my collection. I also grew up on
Wow.
Dino Thunder, and I don't know if any Dino Thunder rep will ever be in this show, but we will see.
I was just gonna say that Lava Ranger, which Dino Thunder took its footage from, I think is still a fairly popular season. I'm sure we'll at least see
Yeah.
one of them show up in it.
I hope, because that was I remember the Blue Ranger was my favorite in that show, so I'm ready for it. Either way.
Well, I should, not to, get ahead of myself, but I should mention, like, in this next episode, we do see one of the Gozyugers use the Abaranger ring, which is what Dino Thunder is derived from.
Oh,
So, like,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, that
Mhm.
that one
yeah.
thing to mention is there's only one of each of these rings, so if we see one get used, that means the Universe Warrior that had that has already fallen.
Damn.
So, yeah, a bit of a disappointment, but at least we see the suit.
Yeah.
In that part, but yeah. So episode 7. Get excited, come together, Gozyugers. We get the Universe Warrior based on Tyranno Ranger, or the Mighty Morphin Red Ranger, as some would recognize him. And let's see, real name, what was it again?
Let me see here.
I think it was Meguru.
Meguru Osai.
Yeah, Meguru Osai.
Yep.
But yeah, he's a
Courtesy of the
Sentai
Ranger Wiki.
archaeologist. Oh yeah, yeah, Sentai archaeologist, which is to say he's basically a fanboy for this stuff. Like, very, obsessed with Sentai and researches it, and
Very fitting role for what I would consider like the first in my experiences, where like somebody who started from the beginning is like the super fan.
oh yeah, it makes sense for a super fan type character to have an older ranger.
Oh
Because that would imply that they're a lot more experienced with the franchise. They've been into it for longer. So a pretty smart decision there, I would say. And but yeah, he basically informs the Gojoojers about their significance in this battle for the rings, and that they're the only ones to be of different colors in contrast with the Universe Warriors, which are all red rangers. So he kind of points to the fact that, there's a reason that they're all, different colors like a normal Sentai would be, sort of hinting at, the fact that they are supposed to sort of team up, even if the battle for the rings is conditioning them to want to compete and fight each other to, get all 50 for themselves. But yeah, he basically tries to teach them that lesson, or at least 3 of them, because while Hoaru, Ryugi, and Kinjiro are stuck, getting a lecture from Meguru, Rikuo and Sumino get caught up in a number 1 enchantment battle. They gotta try to, or Rikuo has to battle with the monster to enchant Sumino the most in some admittedly pretty awkward sequences, but
especially
still.
since it's like that dude is. I'm still convinced that dude's a straight killer, bro.
Oh yeah.
That stuff with her sister is still unresolved.
Mm-hmm.
Scary, man. See, that's the kind of stuff where it's like there's always these looming things in the background. Oh man.
But yeah, although it is curious that they set that up, but in this episode they still have him sort of give his backstory about how he was ousted as an idol, and he's still aiming to be the number 1 idol, even though the industry at large shunned him. And I still want to believe there's some kind of misunderstanding with the whole gray eyes thing. I'm certain he didn't literally do something to her sister, but I'm sure there's going to be some kind of mystery
Yeah,
there.
there's definitely gonna be some kind of explanation. Maybe somebody else had silver eyes like he does.
I swear if he has a brother too.
Dude, yeah. That'd be crazy.
Yep. They can all
Evil
have
idol.
shitty siblings. Which, I mean, they've already hinted at Ryugi having disagreements with his parents. So, Horu's already not the only ranger to have sort of familial issues. So, I do wonder if it'll, which, now that I mention it, I realized that all of these rangers, except for Rikuo, have some kind of familial backstory. Like Kinjiro has his family, and Sumino has her sister. Rikuo is the only one to not have any family stuff explained or explored yet. So
didn't they mention something about his career kind of not exactly falling off, but something happened to where he had to lie low? I might just be misremembering.
Yeah,
There's definitely something
exactly.
that's been set up, but the show will get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah. But yeah, and then while that's all happening, the other 3 rangers are being forced to work together to make an omelet. Basically, a very simple lesson on the importance of teamwork and coming together in spite their differences, and yeah, they eventually succeed and make a good omelet. To which Meguru says, Sentai is like an omelet, uh, which is an interesting sentence. And I love how like when he like digs into it, he like imagines the explosions in the rock quarry that Sentai is famous for. Like he really is a fanboy for this stuff.
I also liked how like the composition of like the dish itself had like all the colors of
Yeah.
the team. That was
Oh,
really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was really nice, really nice touch.
Looked a lot
Oh,
better
yeah.
than anything that Gotchard made in Kamen Rider Gotchard. That's for freaking sure. Oh
Yeah, let's
God.
remember that.
I remember they had like a whole like cafe for Gotchard and everything looked like shit. And it's like, wow, this is just like the show.
Remember when Spanner made the purple omelet?
If we eat the purple
Everyone's
goo
like, this is
tonight.
great. Like, what did you
Is there a
make with
mistake
what did
omelet?
you make this with? Oh man. I miss Gotchard.
Yeah, we made
Oh,
it with
yeah,
a.
same.
We made the shit with a crushed up Kemi.
Hemi abuse. But yeah, this episode doesn't like it's a bit of a slower episode. Like it's a lot more just like um the battle with the number one monster is like pretty simple. Like it's more like just gags basically. And then Meguru's sort of like lore dumping more or less. And then it culminates in the battle at the end of the episode, which gives us our first ever full Gozyuger like pose. Which
Hell yeah.
I really love how it was supposed to be just a Goju Leon's like ring intro, but then the other Gojoogers just come in and interrupt it. Like that sequence was great. And then it's basically just a fight scene. And of course we get all of the dinosaur themed Red Rangers in one
Ah,
transformation sequence.
I see him now here, the Down Thunder dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
I
got
totally forgot about that.
yeah, we got Tyranno Ranger from Jew Ranger, Abba Red from Abba Ranger, Kyoryu Red from Kyoryuger, and then Ryusol Red from Ryu Soldier to form the Dinosaur Dream Team, as Meguru called it. But
That's so sick. Dude, Ryusol Red, I love his design. Where it's like
Oh, yeah.
it's almost kind of like
Mhm.
you know how Ryuki had like the shaders on their
Oh, yeah.
on their helmets. It's kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
yeah, I love how it's like supposed to be teeth, but it forms like a traditional knight's like sort of peaky
yeah.
holes, whatever you call them. Yeah.
Did you say Peaky Blinder?
No, it's like how a knight's helmet has like the little holes or the slits they peek through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I heard somebody say Blinder. I'm just so brain rotted of that show. Yeah, it was really cool to see Dino Thunder again. But yeah, because I was earlier I was like, yeah, man, it'd be great if Dino Thunder was in it. Everyone's like, yeah, Dino Thunder was in it. Well, because my thing is, I am straight traumatized by what happens next, and we will get to that. So all this kind of blocked out of my memory. So let me tell you, this show does not pull any punches, and we're about to get into that right now. Unless like
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
else had anything else to say about this episode.
I didn't really have a ton to say on this one, honestly. I felt like 6 and 8 were, pretty impactful. And this one, not that it was bad at all, it just didn't hit me in quite the same ways, I guess. I guess mainly because, like, so much of it is built around some nostalgia for Z Ranger / Mighty Morphin, and it's just not a show I ever had much attachment to.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think what I was mentioning does happen at the end of this episode. Can I say what goes down?
I'll give you the honors.
Okay, so they get done with their fight, right? And I think this is no, that wasn't the same episode with the cake battle. Yeah, no. So everybody's fighting. Horu turns into Don Momotaro, and he gets the companion origamis back, and like they're using all their powers. The Tegasword Red gets summoned along with the Megazord or Daizujin, and they use a special God finisher to destroy like their enemies that are in
Oh
front
yeah,
of them.
that was great.
And by the end of it, like Red Ranger or OG Red Ranger, Dino Ranger is like, hey, good job, guys. He gets shot in the chest. He's dead.
Oh
He's
yeah.
dead. And we look back, and there's a mysterious figure, who he's the Ranger Wiki describes him as a gray warrior wearing a white and red variation of Tegasword who simply stares at them, while Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Red is just on the ground. The episode ends right there. So let's get back. Let's find out what the hell just happened.
Oh yeah.
Episode 8,
Yeah.
Between Right and Wrong, The Ring Hunter.
Oh yeah. So this episode introduces Horu's older brother Kuon, who we saw in the flashback in episode 6. Those two finally reunite, and right off the bat, you can kind of catch a weird vibe coming from him. Like there's just like something up with him, and like if you pay attention to like certain things, like certain X-based iconography, such as in the AI company that he runs, like you can see it's really already making a sort of connection between him and this ring hunter, and yeah, even just in like his behavior towards Horu when he's like offering him all this he offers him this like big sushi platter and says that if he works for him he can eat like that all the time. It's just like very blatantly manipulative right off the bat. And yeah, this whole episode is basically like, yeah, it's just fleshing out Horu's character, like showing how his brother is like, not really a great guy, and in fact seemingly keeps Horu down, like instills this inferiority complex in him that it even like triggers Horu to want to fight his teammates because he doesn't see any point in teaming up or even being friends with them. And it's honestly like pretty crushing to see that, especially since Gav also has like themes of familial abuse and dysfunction. So to see it also in Gozyuger is just I don't know, it's always good to see those types of topics like explored when not everybody like is really not everybody takes those kinds of things into consideration. They see family as a positive thing. So I always commend shows for like showing that it's not always cut and dry like that.
Oh yeah.
Especially like superhero media like this where usually family would be more idealized, but not here.
Yeah, here looking like they're definitely going for like a found family sort of ordeal. And I think what's also cool about that sequence where it's like he makes him fight everybody, but also like pins down the point where it's like, yeah, they are all technically against each other. And we'll kind of get into the consequences of him fighting everybody here soon.
I will say though, it is like prior to that crash out happening, there's this sweet moment between Kinjiro and Ryugi where Kinjiro's like, even though we're fated to be enemies, it doesn't mean we can't enjoy the time we have together right now. And yeah, it goes to show that like even with their clashing personalities, they're already gaining like an affinity for each other, and it's gonna be really nice to see like how far that goes as the series goes on. But yeah, this episode's definitely about Hoaru and really fleshing out like why he's so just why he's kind of as directionless as he is. And I really liked how like with all this like anger that's driving him when he fights Fire Candle, even Fire Candle can see that Hoaru's not being his best self, that he's really losing his way, and you get that sort of trope of I can't even fight you because you're clearly not even fighting at your best, and You know, it it's like really like already showing Horu at his like lowest point, even this early in the show. It culminates in him, tossing his ring away at the end of the episode and deciding
Oh
he
yeah,
doesn't have a wish to
That
fight
was
for.
tough.
Oh yeah,
real. Yeah, I was
Yeah, and I
not
got the
expecting. I was not expecting it to go that route, dude. Honestly,
oh yeah,
because like at this point, it was like already setting up that like yeah, we were gonna have like some absolutely hard hitting ending, right? Because yeah, like we were like all we're saying, Horu was already like just getting his spirit broken, and honestly, very very just saddening thing to just see as the episode goes on, and just seeing that final. Oh yeah, see there you go. Thank you, Ben. That really
yeah.
helps with making
I
my
shared
point.
the
That really
yeah.
helps with making my point across. That final shot where the
Because they
ring
got
is
the
on the
Dutch
ground,
angle. Yeah, and he's walking away, and
and
everybody's surrounding it.
yeah, and the fact that I love this. The fact that now that I'm looking at it, every single ranger just kind of like in the corner, and we just have Horu walking away, like not quite in the middle, but he's like just it still has him as the center of attention, and honestly, yeah, it makes sense because yeah, this is such a insane way to end the episode, and him just walking. I'm like, oh, dude, it's cinema, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, I did appreciate how like the one thing I really do enjoy between Kamen Rider. I'll fill this. Okay, yep, he's back. All right, let's try that again. All right, so one thing I really enjoy about Kamen Rider and Sentai are the particularly brutalist cinematography, because you get these like really cool looking cityscapes or just like this like interesting architecture and like the places they fight at, or obviously like you get the like the quarries that they're so famous for, and when it comes to those big fights. But I think something is like with this angle here where like you see like the sky is just emptiness, that it almost looks like he's going into it, and then like just like everything else is so it's so empty yet it's so brutal looking at it, and it's, man, so good.
oh yeah.
Mhm. I I really, really loved this episode, and I really like where it brought Hoero as a character. That being said, I kind of worried that like maybe this moment is a little bit too early on, but of course we won't know that for sure until we're much further in the series.
Yeah,
I
that
wonder
that is
if
a fair
others will
point.
get this like not exactly this treatment, but if they'll kind of go through things that make them question being rangers.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
they'll certainly have their struggles that they have to work through. But yeah, that is a fair point of like, it seems like they're really like going through like just marathoning through a lot of big story beats, and it does make you worry, if they'll run out of good enough ideas and like start kind of spinning in their wheels a bit. But I,
I,
don't know, I still have faith that they'll like just keep experimenting with enough crazy ideas to make the whole show worthwhile, and at least like sprinkle in some more low stakes episodes. Like definitely, I think the strength of the number one monster format is that it can be like Zenkaiger, where they just pick like an almost banal like subject to base a monster on and just make a whole episode about it and just revel in the silliness of it. So like, yeah, it's like taking that aspect of Zenkaiger and then also pairing it with like this overarching story with like a battle royale motif going on. It it's a very strong just general structure for the show to just keep it constantly entertaining, at least the way I see it. And that's
Yeah,
part of why I've been so obsessed with it since it began.
you know, uh, on the hopeful side of things, from what I understand, Akiko in a way is not very like familiar with Sentai or Tokusatsu in general, so I'm kind of hoping that she's just trying to like play through as many tropes as possible so that in the latter half she can kind of just really do her own thing. But
Oh
we
yeah,
again we won't know till we get there.
definitely. But
yeah, because like we're still in the early stages. I don't really consider like the stories to really pick up until like past episode 15, I'd say. and that's just in my experience watching both writer and Sentai. So I think
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna kind of look at all this as just like general setup, and then kind of once we get into the bit more of the rising action, because like I feel like the story to Gozyuger is a lot more I don't say linear, but it's a lot less episodic than say like Boombunger was, and because like it got real linear by the end there, but I feel like this show I have high hopes for the show. I think we'll because I already like it a lot, just like in the first couple episodes. So yeah, I think we're in good hands.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely hopeful. Like, my expectations are, gonna be reasonable. Like, I'm not expecting like, I don't know, the modern Homer's Odyssey or whatever, but I definitely think that, for this 50th anniversary, they're not gonna drop the ball too hard. One can hope anyway. But
I'm curious to see like what sort of character development Fire Candle gets, because he has easily become my favorite character so far. I love
yeah,
that
definitely.
guy.
Yeah.
Every time he
He's
shows
really-
up,
I was-
he makes it so much better. He's great.
I was initially like really not into him as a villain at all.
Yeah, me
And
too.
like
Yeah.
this episode really brought him around for me, I think.
Oh yeah, which yeah, I love when like the Sentai like fleshes out its villain characters to be genuine characters like with their own sort of humanity and motivations. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
their
that's
own-
just that's. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, like, and having their own interpersonal conflicts and their own individual motivations and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just a strength of this show in general. Just like all of these characters, whether they're on the main team or all these various factions, they all have their own ideas and like their own like personal arcs going on. So it's a very like rich cast. Like even the characters that just come in and out, like the Universe Warriors. It's really enjoyable.
Hmm.
See, any final thoughts on this episode before we wrap it up?
Kuon is a piece of shit and
Oh
manipulator.
yeah,
Screw that guy.
Yes.
but his suit is cool though.
Just
When he's
like how
Garudo.
it's like a yeah, dude, it's like a piano whenever he like presses his like his activation stuff.
Oh yeah, and like yeah, and when he does the transformation, it does like a screamo type vocal, like as he transforms before it says Garudo. It's really great. They made him like super edgy, and
Oh yeah.
I love how
Mhm.
like Hoaru basically inherited the same catchphrase from him, but like yeah, it's like both brothers have the same catchphrase, but with like very different tones to them. With Kuon, it's obviously a lot more predatory, and he does like an X symbol to parallel the O symbol that Hoaru does, and yeah, and yeah, with his whole gimmick of like summoning past rangers to fight like soldiers, like that's another trope that's like been done before, and so it's a bit repetitive, but I like how they added a twist to where he can like morph them into their respective weapons to use for himself.
Oh yeah.
Like that was
That
really
was cool. That was cool.
and it was so clever how they even tied it into his idea of seeing people as tools instead of like individuals. So like very clever how they tied it in with the writing.
Kamen Rider Legend could beat the hell out of this dude, but he's still got a pretty cool thing going on, at least for Sentai.
Well, to be fair, Garyudo does have like one of the most deadly looking laser blasts I've ever seen from like any ranger ever. Like
Oh
he's
yeah, especially like
that extra flap on his weapon is just to steady the shot before
Yeah.
he just decimates the building they're all
yeah,
in.
because whenever he like stabbed into that pillar and then shot it, and like got
Oh,
everybody. That was scary, dude. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
There's just a gun Kamehameha. Yeah, dude, don't want to get hit by that. I don't even think Kamen Rider Legend would be able to shake that off super quick.
Yeah, Garyudo is easily like one of the coolest like villain rangers they've come up with in forever. Just
Oh,
the
yeah.
design, the character, the just everything about him is just very cool and edgy. And I'm excited to see how he clashes with the Gozyugers, as the show goes on. Just just another element that they've introduced that it's going to be fun to see them build upon.
He's kind of like a fun character right from the get-go because you could see so many different ways he can go. He can either be like a single arc villain, he could be the actual overarching villain, he could turn good eventually. Like there are a lot of different paths we could go with him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Although, given they've already like shown that he's, has a connection with the queen that the Baridon are working for, and even his ring looks like the head of the queen. It definitely does suggest that like he's like really an upper echelon. Although I do think it could be a thing where Kuon himself might lose the powers, but they might get passed on to someone else. Like I could see that happening, but. Again, it's one of those things where you never really know like how it can go. Like they can take it in any direction. But yeah. Any more final thoughts on this episode, or are we set?
It just keeps escalating.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see where it all ends up.
All right.
50 episodes is not enough.
50 is
Yeah.
not enough.
Give us 150.
Oh yeah.
But yes, we will see the conclusion of this dramatic twist in Horu's character arc in the next episode. But until then, this is Otaku Sentai Podranger signing off, and we will see you all in the next #1 battle.
See you next game.
Yeah.
You do that announcer voice really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks.